See you, although I can't see you. You can see me, but I know you're there. Awesome to have you here. And today we are going to talk about combating negativism. How do you deal with someone who is negative in your life and do that? I was thinking about all of these LinkedIn, or not just LinkedIn, it's on Facebook and YouTube as well. But the lockdown lift up is what the segment is called. It's every day during the Ontario's third lockdown. Who knows what will happen after the lockdown or when the lockdown will end. But here's what I was thinking. I was like, maybe it might feel that a lot of the topics that I'm covering are very heavy. They're heavy topics. But then I thought, nobody needs a lift up when they won the lottery. Right? Like, nobody's like, oh my gosh, all I have are positive people in my life. And I am just like walking around like I'm Mary Poppins singing a song down the rainy Main Street with a guy named Bert. And is living life like that and then says, oh my gosh, please somebody lift me up. Although interestingly, the people who are the most cheery and the truly happy and joyful and content and kind of got this personal development space figured out are the ones who purposefully surround themselves with uplifting information. So there might be something to that. But the lockdown lift up is for those of us going through the human experience and maybe getting a little tired of the pandemic and maybe feeling a little bit like they might be languishing, like life is just kind of blah. Or maybe you're going through personal things. Like I've got a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and I'll tell you, I will tell you what it is. I was going to say, I'll tell you, sometimes I have to really have to, what do I say? I have to manage my own thinking and my own positivity because I believe I'm in better flow when I am. And I return to my own materials, right? Like when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to me. Like this lockdown lift up has been great because it reminds me of all of the challenges that I'm facing and what I need to do to stay on top of my game. And sometimes staying on top of your game is you just can't send it. Like I got a friend slash prospect who is waiting for a very big proposal from me, and I was working on it today and it's not done. And you know what? I'm just not in the headspace right now to do an absolute incredible proposal. And so I like, hey, if you're listening, you know who you are. I'm going to push it until later tonight because I'm feeling better. I had a thing today and, with my own health challenges that I've been navigating lately. And my mom is, if you want to offer prayers or thoughtfulness towards it, I took her to the hospital yesterday afternoon, right after our lockdown lift up. I sent her in and she's going to get a few tests, and her heart is not working right. It's been failing for actually quite some time, which is one of the reasons she's been with me. And I've been looking after her, but cardiac surgery, of course, is shut down because of the COVID lockdown, unless you're an emergency case or significant. And my mom definitely falls into that category. So I gotta tell you, of all the things that are emotionally difficult, dropping your mother off at the hospital to be by herself for the next week and a half, until they replace her failing mechanical heart valve is, for the record, not something that I'm going to recommend to anybody. But I was like, okay, what am I feeling? I'm feeling anxiety before I went in. I'm feeling fear. I'm building on a story of my grandma passed away from the similar surgery. I had to manage all that. So like interrupt the storyline, right? And then am I being positive? And then what is a legitimate feeling that goes with this? And feeling the feels. And I had a great big cry and a triple scoop of ice cream. Please don't judge me. There was so much, but I ate it anyway. That's not a good strategy for the record. Anyway, so I was just, we're all going through shit is my point. And that's not to, make you feel, concerned by me by any means. Like I'm the most resilient person I know, aside from probably my brother. who's even more incredibly resilient. Ah, thank you. Prayers and vibes for your mom. I appreciate it, Greg. Thank you. And you know what? Here's the thing though. We all go through stuff and I have the tools. Heck, I've created tools, right? And I still need the reminder. And so it's not like I said, the lift ups are for the life experience that you may or may not be feeling right now. And if you're not going through something right now that's kind of making it hard or weighing on you, or you're feeling like you're languishing or on the cusp of burnout, then what's around the corner, and you need these tools. That's great. Well, let's talk about combating negativism, because there are certain people in your life potentially who are, when you talk to them, it's going to be negative. It's not going to be the cheery, uplifting, positive vibe experience that you're hoping for. And if that is, a factor in your life, then I just came up myself. There. I think if you are, it was like Inception. I was on the screen and not on the screen. But if there are people, so what do we do? First of all, if there's a way that you can cut it out, like just leave the relationship, stop having interactions with people who are negative, that is the number one tactic. Stop surrounding yourself with negative people. However, in our lives, sometimes that's not possible. So we might be related to them. We might be work with them and have somebody who's really a negative or a real cynic around us, and we have to actually be on a team with them, or whatever the case may be. So what do you do? Well, I think the big deal, so first of all, so you've got to notice in your gut what happens to you when somebody's negative around you. Does it impact you? Are you empathetic in a way that, I think they call it like being an empath, right? Where when somebody else is feeling something, you end up picking it up. So if somebody's really in the dumps about a topic, then you can have a conversation with them. And if you're not careful, if you don't protect yourself energetically, you could actually end up taking on their negative emotion. So that we want to be really crystal clear and aware of how is that showing up for you. Okay. So are you, first of all, who is negative around you? And then how are you showing up physically, so you can recognize the signs, so that when you're talking with someone and it's really negative, what do you do? Now, obviously, if you can get out of the situation, that's great. The second thing is, once you know that, as soon as you see that brewing up, I want you to just have a conversation in the back of your mind. And of course, I always want you to be present and enjoy the conversation that you're in. But you got to have the alternative conversation to say to yourself, this is not healthy for my mental health. This conversation, I've got to block my energy from taking on whatever this is. And just having that little trigger that says, I'm going to show up differently for this situation. Because if we just go through conversations that are chronically negative blindly and aren't actually separating ourselves from them, we can take that into our day. All right. So having that conversation in the back of your mind. Then want to start looking for the trigger words that mean a negative conversation. So now I was thinking about it before, and I had two different, and then I thought I lost it. There's the words. Okay. So the intensity to which you're describing a situation that you want to be careful for, because that could be negative, or the actual words you're using to describe a situation could be negative. So it's a nuance, both of them equally damaging in terms of your juju and making you feel like you're having a great day when you were caught up in a negative situation. So the intensity can be negative. And so what I mean by this is the catastrophize catastrophizing. Wow, that was tough. I want somebody to come on here and say catastrophizing 10 times fast. That was, I'm sorry. Sometimes I stumble. I think it's just, it's been an emotionally trying couple days. But here's the thing. I don't actually feel like the last day or so has been negative in any way. And it can still be emotionally draining. See, negative emotions are not necessarily the same as having negativity in your life. Okay? Two different things. But the negativity, so catastrophizing a situation. So let's say you were over at my house and in the kitchen, and all of a sudden I heard you go, "Oh my God, this is a disaster." Right? And you're like, "What's up?" And you're all like bent out of shape about something. And I'm like, "Oh my God, like, is there an earthquake? Like, is there something going to go on?" And you're like, "I just spilled coffee on my shirt." That's catastrophization. Okay, so you spilled coffee on your shirt. Who cares? Go get a new shirt. Rinse it off. Leave it there. Nobody's looking. Put on a sweater. Right? It's not a disaster, but that's what catastrophization really shows up as. Okay, is where we take a situation that's going on. Actually, here's an interesting feedback. And if my friend is watching, please don't take offense to this. I read that email yesterday when I was doing the Losing Gracefully, which, by the way, just being totally transparent, I was like, I kind of admit I lost. Maybe I should take that one down. And I'm pushing myself to leave it up because that's, authenticity is one of my values. But I also don't want to overstep because I think there's a balancing act. But she read it as it was a total blow off email, like a negative interpretation. I'm like, nowhere in that email did I read, "We don't like you. I never want to work with you. Don't call me again." Like, I didn't get a blow off vibe at all. But I also have trained myself to see black and white of what's there and not put the story. See, I think what we do is if we're looking at things through a negative bent, we can take this and put a story of past experience or interpretation that the situation doesn't warrant. That, like, it didn't even dawn on me that it was a negative because I had such a great connection with that person. It didn't even dawn on me, and I really want to work with them. So even if they were blowing me off, I'm not going to take that on out of an email and have that negative perspective because I just choose not to be negative. Is that fair? Because, like, there's enough real shit going on in our lives that why would I add a level of a lens through which, like, if we were to say we're looking at life and one is the rose-colored glasses and one is like the gray matter of like anger and hate or whatever, if I'm going to put down a lens, I think the most appropriate lens to put down is the clear lens where we just see things as they are. But if it's got to be one of the two colors, I would prefer to put the rosy colored glasses on. Because here's the thing, if the dark doom is on its way and I got to look through it through the doom, why would I want to speed up the expectation of the doom? Why would we add extra to our lives? And so some would say, well, maybe that's naive, but I actually don't think it is. I think it's self-protectionism at its finest. I think it's figuring out what is the best way for you to operate in your life and your mental health so that you feel good during the day, even when the crappy stuff is going on. So that catastrophization of a situation is, and seeing it through the lens, putting down not the rose-colored glasses, not the clear, realistic. I consider myself an optimistic realist. I feel like that's such a beautiful place to play. I'm going to choose to see the best, but I'm going to be realistic about it. So I'm not totally out of touch. But I'm only, when things are really dark, I'm going to see it clearly. But I'm always going to have the silver lining. Always going to have a little bit of the optimism that's going to go with it. I mean, optimism's just there. And so when we're talking to people who are negative, they've got that dark lens in front of them. And by golly, that can be all they see. That's how they see everything. This pen doesn't work. Well, okay, what are we going to do? Sue the pen manufacturer? Like, am I going to go back for the $2.99 to the store to tell them that their pens have, this is obviously a very specific situation that I'm in the middle of right now, with someone who I bought pens for 5 times. Anyway, pens don't work. Like, who cares? Get another pen. Like, I mean, it sounds really, really probably, uh, very silly when I say it out loud like that. But a lot of things do not need to be as challenging as we make them to be. Okay. Anyway, I'm just rolling here. So looking for those words and those situations, and when we're seeing it through a negative lens, removing that lens and having a crystal clear windshield to look through and looking at it realistically, challenging our thinking and saying, am I putting a negative bent on this when there really isn't one there? Because that will add to it. Now, the words are another piece of the puzzle. So when we use disastrous words or negative words or, oh my God, that's awful or bad or, whatever, a lot of those words need to be saved for things that are truly devastating, i.e., you've lost somebody you love, or you have lost your animal, or you've been in a horrible car accident, or something like that. Everything under that, the words that are most negative in our English language never need to come out. They just don't. So when I'm talking with someone who's really negative and I can't get out of the situation, I will purposefully change the words of the conversation. So especially in the coaching, I mean, my coaching clients, they ask me to challenge them. So, and I don't normally work with people who have that negative bent. I don't think they would choose to work with me. I think people who sort of see the clear or maybe a little bit of the more optimistic and rosy, or they really want that, are the ones who are drawn to working with me. But I will challenge the words, right? So, okay, so you're saying it's like this. What is that the right word? Because our brains don't have a sense of humor, right? Our subconscious mind doesn't get, oh, I didn't really mean that. It's going to interpret it as negative, right? So I think that's important. And then, so changing the words, but cut off the conversations. So often I think these negative conversations get into a bit of a whirlwind because people want to be right. I don't need to be right for somebody who's a negative person. In actual fact, the most important thing is to protect yourself from taking on that negativity. And so negative energy piled with negative energy, piled with negative energy, piled with negative energy is very toxic. So if somebody piles on some negative energy, I encourage you to as well, is to extend, just get rid of it, right? Like this is Guy in the Park, the dogs play. Oh my God, it's a master in negative negotiation. So he'll throw it to, the government. I'm like, I certainly wouldn't want to be a politician. No, there's no right answer. And I'll change the subject. It's exhausting. By the way, next time I'm going to put on my earbuds and just walk away. But I didn't know what to do because our dogs were together. And it happens every time. But like, shut it down. Now, I could have gone into the fact that 3/4 of the things he was spewing were not factually based. And why? To what end? Like, we can bring negativity onto ourselves. So instead, shift the conversation, cap it. It's like when I talk about the resiliency dial, right? And we talk about the victim mentality and, really that person who is just so negative, they can suck all the enthusiasm out of a room, right? And if you've never had somebody like that in your life, like, oh, power to you, you are incredible, enjoy. But if you're someone who has had people like that in your life and you've had to protect yourself, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so when we can't reason with someone like that, they need to come out of it. They need to choose that they're not going to be in it. And sometimes it's good to be in that victim area so you can just soak in the mess and be okay with it. But then you got to come out of it as fast as you possibly can. Right? And so a situation like that, if I would have been brought into the negativity, it would have been either ended up in an argument, or it would have been even more exhausting for me to be there for the time that I was there. And it was exhausting shifting it, but maybe, just maybe, he maybe saw a couple positive points. Make his day a little bit better. So there as we go. That's my thinking around this negative energy. If you're interacting with negative energy, to recap, get out of the situation if you possibly can. Second of all, watch the catastrophization of the situation. So is it possible that you're seeing something that isn't there? Are you exaggerating the negativity of what is there? I'm never, ever denying that there's negative. I just want to make that really clear. I do not believe in rosy, posy, rainbow, magical, fairy unicorns of existence. I mean, that's not one of the lenses I'm recommending, right? So then the next piece I was talking about there were the lenses, right? Are you looking through rose-colored glasses, clear windshield, or the dark windshield of doom? Now I've just made that up. All right, it'll be a new thing. I'll come up with it. But my preference, and I hope you choose, and by the way, these windshields can pop out at any one time, right? Having a really bad day, you have to it's harder to get the one that's dark, the dark cover off, right? But that, choose the clear one at the very least. And if not clear, I like to lean towards the rosy, not the gray, dark windshield of gloom. All right. And then watching the words. And when you're in the conversations, you don't need to prove yourself. You just have to protect your own mental health and your own energy. And that's when we can change the conversation and cap it. So, that's what I was going to say. So I talk about you need to validate, right? People need to be validated. So you don't say, oh, don't feel that way. Or you're seeing the situation all wrong. Like, that does nothing to help the situation move forward, right? And get out of negativity. But you can say, well, if we really look at the facts, what about this or what about that? So you got to find a way to validate and make the person feel honored in their situation and their suffering or their perspective of, their windshield of doom, and while at the same time protecting you. So we cap it and we don't go down the rabbit hole. I think that's where those negative cycles really, really get into it. People want to prove, they want to, make somebody else not be negative, and then they pile on, and it just backfires. It's just not worth it. So there we go. So there's my thinking on how you can deal with any negativity that may or may not be in your life. I generally don't surround myself with negative people. I've got a couple of people in my life that I am, sometimes teeter on that way, but it's only because, I have a responsibility in one of those particular situations that I'm not going to back down from it. It would ethically not be right. So then it's, how do you manage it? Right. And even, I talk to people at the workplace situation, if somebody's negative on the team, sometimes if you, I remember one of my clients, they, somebody heard me speak and went, oh my God, I'm the negative person. I'm the victim. And then they committed to fixing that. That's huge. Right? So you want that, but if they can't see it, you can't make them see it for themselves. So this has been the Lockdown Lift Up. And please know, I know these topics are heavy, but like I said at the beginning, nobody needs a lift up from winning the lottery, right? We need lift ups when we go through the human experience. I hope you're enjoying these. I like doing them. I do. And especially on days like these when I'm waiting to see my, hoping my mama gets out of the hospital soon and is healthy. Hola. Hello, Lauren. Awesome to have you here. And Monique, thank you so much. Oh, I like how you've got Lockdown Lift Up with the LDLU. Now I know how to make it. That's going to be our thing. I like it. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll pass that on to her. They can't fix what they refuse to see. 100%. Those, if somebody is caught up in that negativity and they want to stay there, then it's not our responsibility. We can't be the one to bring them out of that. They have to choose that for themselves. Thanks for your daily dose of authenticity. You're so welcome, Greg. One of the risks of doing this all the time is I might get too authentic. I might be like, people will be like, oh God, she's got problems. But no, you know what? I see this stuff. I experience it as part of, what I believe is the human experience. And then I have a tendency to sort of look back at everything, which is a way that I've trained myself to um, observe the human experience so that I can come up with ideas that might be able to help us. Oh, yeah, Winston, look at that, eh? Here, let me move this out of the way. Lauren, there he is. Winston, you want to say hi to the camera? Oh my gosh, you probably couldn't even see his little eyebrows go up. Could you see that on there? You could watch this. Yeah, anyway, so sweet. Thank you. Yeah, that's Winston. He's got a pretty chillax life. He likes it. And I'm so grateful that it hasn't been storming because um, it's just been raining for apparently 6 days. So chill. Yes, he is. Okay. Well, I love talking to you. Thank you for being here. And let's meet back here tomorrow at 3:15 p.m. Super excited. Don't think Mom's having her surgery tomorrow, but I will be here, and actually I'll be looking for the day that she does have her surgery, of course, because I can't go into the hospital. But you know what? I'm being optimistic. I'm thinking that they're going to let us in for the day of surgery. What do you think? I don't know. Maybe they won't. But it's better than thinking about it and worrying and feeling like I'm not going to be there. All right. Hydrate. Important to hydrate. Have the best day. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Any topic ideas for tomorrow? What is Wisdom Wednesday going to be? Ooh, that's what we're going to call that one. I don't know. I just make this stuff up. All right. Bye.